And welcome everyone to South Huron Council meeting, Monday, November 17th at 6 p.m. And welcome our staff that are here this evening to provide us expert information so that we can make sure we make the best decisions on behalf of the residents of South Huron. And welcome those members of the public that are in the gallery this evening, and we welcome those that are participating remotely from their comfort of their home. There's an amendment to the budget under 10.15, a staff report. So we'll call this meeting to order and ask everyone to please rise for O Canada. Again, welcome everyone. And we'll please ask everyone to make sure your cell phones are turned off or are muted, with the exception of the professional volunteer firefighters that may be present. And we'll begin our meeting with the land acknowledgement. As we gather, we are reminded that the municipality of South Huron is situated on Treaty 29 land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. As a community, we have a responsibility to honor and respect this territory's significance for the Indigenous peoples who lived and continue to live upon it, and whose practices and spiritualities were tied to the land and continue to develop in relationship to the territory and its other inhabitants today. In the spirit of reconciliation and truth, we acknowledge the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples on whose traditional territory that we are meeting. Very well, move on to item number 3. Ms. Masuda Carlson, please.
Through the mayor, there has been the consent application C34-2025 Baker has been withdrawn. So we're removing items 6.2 and 10.11. So the recommendation would be that South Huron Council approves the agenda as amended.
And a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor McLeod-Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Are there any disclosures at this time? And not seeing any, move on to presentations. We welcome our friend Davin Heinbach, from the Sauble Bayfield Conservation Authority. Great to have you here this evening. Proceed whenever you're ready, Davin.
All right, thank you very much, Mayor Finch and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present on the proposed 2026 ABCA budget. Little extra tonight, apart from the usual budget conversation. I'm going to talk a little about the programs and services of the authority, also some of the latest news with the proposals from the province. So we'll talk a little bit about what has been shared with us and what I can share with you. Additional thanks to South Huron for their member representation, Councillor Vaughn on the ABCA board. And one other I point out today is I have Tina Crown from the Sauble Bayfield Conservation Authority with me tonight, and she's our financial services coordinator. Right. So with that, there's the presentation. So A little bit about the Sauble Bayfield Conservation Authority, just to get an idea of where we are in the watershed and in the province. We are one of 36 conservation authorities. The majority of the conservation authorities are located in southern Ontario, where there's the more highly developed areas, but we also have conservation authorities in the north, several that exist up there. Where we are is, of course, on the off the east shoreline of Lake Huron. And in the map there, you can see where South Huron sits, basically right down the middle of the Sauble Bayfield Conservation Authority's watershed. And next slide. So really, this is very timely as a reminder, really, the Sauble Bayfield is the local voice for conservation in this watershed. One thing that's unique, you may not know this about the Sauble Bayfield, is that we were in fact the first formed conservation authority in Ontario in 1946. And that's when the Conservation Authorities Act came to be. One thing that's unique about conservation authorities is we are watershed based. So for the most part, other than some regions in the north, we don't run on political boundaries. We operate on a watershed base. So anytime, what a watershed really is you take a drop of water and it drains into a river system. That's the watershed of that river system. And that's why we're the Sauble Bayfield. Those are the two main rivers that we have. Our watershed size is about 2,400 square kilometers. And our population base is just over 40,000, almost 45,000 now. And next slide, please. So our mission and vision, what's unique is a lot of the words that you're seeing up there, it's protect, improve, conserve, but it's in partnership with the community. And I threw an image of our conservation strategy up there because that was developed in partnership with the community to sort of derive what was important to the local community for the programs and services that the Conservation Authority is involved with. Now, that's an important document. And out of that document came our mission and our vision. And next slide. So our structure, we have 12 member municipalities within our watershed, represented by 9 board members. The role of the board is really to approve policy, the programs, and the budget of the authority. At any given time, typically we're somewhere between 30 and 35 staff, and mostly as at both a part-time and a full-time basis. And next slide. Services provided. There's a lot here, but I tried to capture a lot of what we're doing in just a few of these. And I'm going to show just some images, I think, that will better illustrate some of these in a second. But just keep in mind, there's category 1 and there's category 3. The category 1 programs, are mandated by the province that we do. Those are drinking water source protection, flood forecasting, warning programs, the regulations program, things like that. The category 3 are the ones, and we'll talk a little bit, I'll just hit on it when we talk about the budget later. The category 3 are those MOUs. Those are the ones that the municipality has agreed to drive and direct those programs and services that are non-mandatory. And we did those in 2023. Those will be coming up for renewal in 2028. There are 5-year agreements. Okay, next slide, please. So if we look at real quick, just slice the pie. This slide here, and we're going to talk about it again a little bit later in the budget. But one thing I want to point out about our revenue is that we are funded roughly about 30% through levy. The rest of those dollars come from partners that we leverage, that we work with. It could be federal, provincial, private, other organizations. And that's one thing I want to point out is that we've been very successful over the years. And for every $1 raised locally or levied locally, we're bringing an additional $2.50 to $3 back into our watershed to support the programs and services that we have. Okay, next slide. And with expenses, I'm not going to actually go into each one of those, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a slide with a picture that represents each one of those little slices of the pie. And that, for the most part, covers the services that we provide and deliver in partnership with our community. Next slide. Okay, floodplain management. There's a lot more to this. A lot of probably what we typically see are the planning and reg side, where we review development applications and try our best to get those approvals out for those where they can meet the conditions of the permits. There's also the flood forecasting warning. That's another piece that you will see quite regularly in the communications from the authority. The ones that you probably don't see as often are the flood and erosion control structures that we are responsible for the maintenance of and the upkeep, and of course any repairs and such like that. So you don't see a lot of that, but we have them in dams, but we also have them in erosion control structures, gabion baskets, different projects across the watershed. South Huron is one of the municipalities that benefits, and we have special benefit for. And you'll see the special benefit in the levy for these flood and erosion control structures. Next slide. Various types of monitoring. What kind of monitoring do we do? Well, we do all sorts. The one we probably comes top of mind is water quality. And we do a lot of that through local programs, but we also do that through the provincial programs as well. We will do activities such as electrofishing, which you see in the top right corner. And we do that for the municipal drain classification project and other funding projects that we're involved with, species at risk as well. Bottom left, we have the provincial groundwater monitoring network. So we're monitoring 16 groundwater locations across the watershed for water level and water quality. And the middle picture shows species at risk sampling for mussels. And on the right, we also have benthic invertebrate monitoring, which is one of the stream health indicators that we use when we look at producing our watershed report card and comparing some of the projects that we do with water quality results before and after. Next slide, please. Okay, the biggest thing about the authority, and we talked about the conservation strategy, is that what comes out of it is we really are driven by what the community wants us to do. So we make sure that the water quality information that we get, we put back into projects to improve any issues that may be identified. And we do that in partnership with the community and community groups to do so. Next slide. Conservation education is another thing that we offer. This isn't consistent to all CAs. But one thing is it's based on the school boards. It is curriculum based. It's always watershed themed. And we do that through mostly school programs. That's the predominant one for sure. But we will also go out and give presentations to any group. We run day camps, and there's many special events. We had our most recent one, the Owl Prowl, last week. So 2 weeks ago, sorry. Then also, it was last week, sorry. And so anyway, so it's not just the students, though. It's not just schools that we go out to. We're also offering these services to the broader community. We do this at locations such as our conservation areas. We'll also do it at local schools and local libraries. Next slide. Drinking water source protection. So after the Walkerton tragedy, a number of recommendations came out of the Justice O'Connor report. And one of them was through the Clean Water Act, developing these drinking water source protection regions. And what those do is it's local membership that's developing plans to protect the local drinking water sources, specifically wellhead protection areas. So areas that are getting their drinking water from wells, rather so than a Lake Huron supply system. Sauble Bayfield and Maitland Valley are the source protection region for this area. So we work together as one region. There are 19 of those in the province altogether. And one thing I'll mention is that these are funded fully through the province. Unless some municipalities have risk management officials that will will provide some of the funding for that. But for the drinking water source protection program itself, it is all provincially funded. Next slide. Okay, land stewardship programs. So what this is, it all starts with linking landowners to funding where available. And we do this through our site visits. We have various programs that we work through, whether it's our wetland recreation, wetland restoration, tree planting. We do that at a number of locations, or just provide that technical advice for various stewardship projects. One thing, the number I'll note for South Huron in 2024 is we had 27 individual stewardship projects occurring in the municipality. That number is fairly typical, but we see from year to year. Next slide, please. Examples, real quick, just highlight some of the various examples that we would see. Windbreak planting, cover crop planting, municipal roadside plantings, erosion control techniques, grass waterways, swales, things like that. These are all the ones that we provide, and they do vary year to year based on what the funding programs are. So it's not always, they're not always each one available all the time, but it varies by the partners and the funding source. Next slide. Okay. The other thing that the Conservation Authority is, of course, known for are the conservation areas. These are the areas that we get out and we can have the community, neighboring communities come out and connect with nature. They really are critical, and we saw this coming through the last pandemic, how important these areas were for well-being and just exercise. And we have we're very fortunate in South Huron to have the trail system that we do. So you see the use and the uptake of that. So again, opportunities to get out, the mental health well-being, but creating those connections with nature. Yeah, next slide. Okay, so that covers the various service areas. I didn't get into too much detail. One thing I will say is that we do share a report every 3 months back through to each municipality that shows the activities or highlights the activities that the Conservation Authority is doing, just so you can see the various programs. And if there's any questions on that ever, you can always reach out to the contacts of the authority and find out more information, and we can share that with you. So always available, always ready to take your call. So always feel free to do that. This one here, this is going to be about 4 slides. And what I've done is I've really kind of taken a highlight to some of what's been going on in the last 2.5 weeks with the provincial announcements, starting with the announcement on Halloween. It was October 31st that there's going to be the creation of the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency. And that agency's role would look at many, and I will say there's just some opportunities in here for streamlining, consistencies, and they're overseeing that piece of it. The other thing that they're looking at is the consolidation of conservation authorities. As proposed right now, it's 36 conservation authorities regionalizing to 7 conservation authorities. And I'm not sure if everyone's seen that map yet. Yeah. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, here's the question. Why consolidation? Well, the point that was being made with consolidation was that there are many municipalities in Ontario that have more than one conservation authority. By taking those 36 and making them 7 conservation authorities, the number of municipalities that have 2 or more conservation authorities would drop by 63%. So that was their first motivation that they shared with us. There's also, and I'm going to note all these in red. I've said the above is indicated by the province. This is not what ABCA is saying. Right? This is the provincial messaging. So there's a disparity in CA size and resources, with some areas lacking access to the latest tools and technology. And it's very true. This is one of those service areas where we could see improvements by having more support. The other one is on consistent service delivery and shared resources. Okay, next slide. All right, what will these changes mean? Again, note the wording in red there. More resources for frontline services, improved flood management and erosion prevention, stronger environmental protections, also maintaining these protections, faster permit approvals, a modernized service delivery through the various technologies. What's not changing? Areas currently served by conservation authorities. And what I will say about that, the messaging on this piece is that if there's a piece or a portion of the province that is not currently within the boundaries of a watershed, they will remain outside of the boundaries of a watershed. And it's not about the local boundaries, it's about the overall areas within Conservation Authority watersheds. Okay. So the other thing is that the programs and services the CAs provide, so we talked earlier about the category 1 and category 3. Those are not changing. The CA management of their lands, the recreation and their education programs. Again, not my wording, but where and how CAs receive funding. The CA relationships with municipalities, developers, and landowners, and that each CA remains an independent municipally governed organization. But when we talk about each one of those CAs, remember, we're talking about an amalgamated framework of CAs. It's not the current CA that we know right now. Of course, in our case, the Sauble Bayfield. We're talking regional. Okay, next slide, please. So some of the timelines, when I prepared this a little over a week ago now, we had not seen the ERO posting. The ERO posting has since come out on November the 7th. So it's available to review and provide comment. The Conservation Authority is going to be working with our board this Thursday to actually try to look at a resolution that we can provide and share back to the municipalities, all of our partners, to use and support if they choose to do so. So because that was posted on November 7th, it's a 45-day posting, which takes us to December 22nd. And at which point we wait and see what they do with the comments. And that's where we get into the 2026 review period. And we wait and see what they make of it. We're hoping for an opportunity to get into some working groups to help shape that. The board members, this piece here is as they serve right now until the fall 2026 elections. The board would remain the same. The membership would look the same. The consolidation itself would start to take shape in late 2026, but likely early 2027 and through 2027 for sure. As I started with on this here, the OPCA, so the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency, is in place to support that transition. The playbooks and the plans are going to be provided by that agency. And we know a little more, but certainly we'll be reaching out with that information very shortly. Yeah, and that's it for that presentation. Any questions on this piece?
Yeah, great presentation, Deb. Appreciate the time. Any questions for Deb? Councillor Need, go ahead.
Yep. Thank you through the chair, and thank you for your presentation. And I don't know if you'll know the answer to this question, but I'm still going to ask it and at least get it out there for council to think about. Based on the image or the map that I saw for the where the ABCA would be consolidated with other conservation authorities, it looks like we'd be consolidating with 2 other conservation authorities. What would the board structure look like? Because currently, as it stands, all of the municipalities that serve within this watershed have a representative that I believe sits on the board. And if my thinking is right, that's going to be a very incredibly large board.
Yeah, thanks to Councillor Need. So the mapping is hard to distinguish how many CAs are actually in this. We're the southernmost. There's Maitland Valley, Saugeen Valley, Grey Sauble, Nottawasaga, and Lake Simcoe region. And then the other one that's a real hanger out there is Lakehead region, which is Thunder Bay. So it raises those exact questions. How do we maintain local input and local action? Part of our response is certainly going to be, and we hope that it's of interest for our partners, is recognizing the need to have that local input at the municipal level. Like right now, we'd say we have 9 members on the board representing 12 municipalities. We're going to be recommending strongly not to lose that representation. Right? It still needs to be effective at this level. What they're sharing right now, the only thing we've seen since that is that the proposed board for the OPCA, the Conservation Agency, is 5 to 12 members. They'll be appointed by the province. So we don't know yet. What it looks like regionally, I will say this, the suggestion is if we are going to become a regional conservation authority, is that okay, there may be a regional board. Think of it as more of an upper tier, but there still needs to be a local board. And the recommendation will be that it still exists on the sub-watersheds or the current watershed, i.e. the AuSable Bayfield Conservation Authority, because we need to have that local and effective representation.
Thank you, Devin. It is interesting because the synergies between us and Aurelia, for that matter, is so broad. And I'm not sure what the relationship would be, but it will be interesting as it rolls out for sure. Comments, Devin?
Sorry?
Do you have a comment on that at all? Or?
On that piece, absolutely. And one of the, and I'll say this, in our, when we do come out this week to our board, one of the recommendations we're going to have, or the acknowledgements we're going to have, I guess, is that not only are we so dissimilar from Lakehead region, certainly the areas around Nottawasaga, and I'm thinking Nottawasaga, we're talking Barrie, Saga Beach, Newmarket, whereas Lake Simcoe region, those areas, certainly the drivers and the economies are very different. And not just that, the climate and the infrastructure that we manage and work within, very different. And I'll go so far as to say, even within the Lake Huron watershed, there's vast differences as you move up the shoreline Lake Huron from the AuSable Bayfield, we go to Lambton Shores and what's happening in our Arkona and that area, all the way up to what's happening in Owen Sound. Right? So it's very varied, even within that, we call that a smaller Lake Huron watershed area. So we're aware of that.
Great. Any other questions for Deputy? Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Just a comment. I sit on Huron County Council as the rep on the Huron Clean Water projects. Do you have any idea what may happen to them? Hopefully they'll stay the same so that they can be distributed, but I'm sure that, like, that's going to be really interesting to see what happens, and I hope it does stay. But just wondered if you had any comments on that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. And also we'll take this opportunity to thank you and the Huron Clean Water Program for the letter of support that I've seen the draft of. So very appreciative of that. And I don't have a direct answer as to what that might look like. This is something like from a local community level is that we have to get the answers for, but I think we also have to fight for and ensure that we maintain those.
Any other questions? Councillor Neeb, go ahead.
You mentioned the, sorry, through the chair, you mentioned the commenting period, and I'm just wondering, has the board been able to go through each of these items, and are they going to be making any comments on the proposed changes? And if so, when? Because I think all of us around the table would probably be willing to support and echo those comments up to the province.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good question. So we do have our board meeting this Thursday, and we have a draft resolution that's prepared that we're going to bring to the board. So you'll see a draft of that tomorrow. In that, the hope and the intention is that that would get shared. It needs to be approved first, but that could be shared as soon as that's approved, and it would go to all the municipalities, the counties as well, our respective MPPs, the minister, chief conservation executive, all the conservation authorities and Conservation Ontario. So there's a planned distribution of that, because that's exactly what we'd like to get out, is that messaging. There's another piece too, is the ERO posting, which is separate to that. The ERO posting is that's what's actually due, but we will plan to have something like in that ready for this Thursday as well. But that's more of a response with solutions and alternatives.
Councillor Oak.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess the question I have is why? And I know you've got some points here in the slides. I guess, has there been a lot of complaints about consistency between different conservation authorities with municipalities, that one conservation authority will rule one way, and where there's multiple conservation authorities affecting municipalities? Like what is driving this bus, in your opinion?
In my opinion, and it's been instated. It's a made in Ontario program. They want to boost development, cut red tape. That's the bottom line. To answer your question about efficiencies, I would say that there's a lot to be gained by having consistent policies across watershed boundaries. And when I say watershed, I'm still talking the 36 conservation authorities. Having that through legislation, that we're more consistent. We're meeting our service, we're exceeding service deadlines. That's not the issue in this area for sure. To the other part of the question, there are areas where development is maybe not moving along as quickly as they wish.
Thank you. Any other questions for Davin at this time? Councillor Oak.
Just wondering, are we going to talk about the budget, the ABCA budget as well? That's proposed to South Huron, our portion?
Yes, we are, for sure. I'm just waiting for any other questions on, is there anything further on what Davin's been talking about? Not, we can move on to the budget. Go ahead, Davin.
All right, thank you. Will the slide deck be, or do you have the slide deck in front of you? If you have it in front of you, that's okay. What we'll go through here a little bit, just a little background as we look at the first overall budget slide, is that what staff do. The budget comes from based off a 5-year forecast that we do each year, and we take that forecast and I will say the number this year I'm going to quote here is that the original view of our budget was that we're looking at, if we did everything in the 5-year forecast for 2026, was a little over 19%. We know that's not reasonable. So we're able to look at that in a little more detail as the projects that we could move, shift around and really put off to future years. And we do so, and then we bring that number back to the board. So what staff are able to do is get that number down to 6.3%. And that's what we proposed at our October 9th budget information session. So we go through the budget, each piece within it. And ultimately, at the end of the direction from the board at the time was to bring that number down more towards 4%. So that's what staff did. Staff went back and looked at the various projects, things that could wait. One of the biggest projects we're looking at for 2026, and it's overdue now. It's due, every 10 years is the dam safety review. But that's a big project. So we looked at taking that, and it was recommended by the board to, can we explore doing this over 2 years? And that makes a big difference of bringing that percentage down. So we did that. The what that equates to really, when I say we got from 19% down to 6.3%, that's about $200,000 that we're able to look at and move forward or split up. The other piece on this is the capital levy, and I definitely presented on it last year, but just a reminder that it was a requirement from the province for us to have a capital levy in place for our assets. We took advantage of that and did it for the whole authority. And the plan was that each year we would, in a 10-year plan, increase that amount by $20,045. So when you look at the consolidated budget in a few minutes, you'll see that the capital levy portion went up 100% because in year one it was $20,045. In year two, it's went up another $20,045. That number, that percent increase will diminish as that number goes up percentage-wise to the overall budget in future years. But that's a newer piece. So the overall levy we present includes that capital levy. That capital levy is about 1.3% of our entire levy. Okay. So what we're able to do is get that number in fact down to 3.93% from the directed 4. And doing so, moving some projects around and shifting the times over which they're done. That really means that 3.93% is a total of $59,000, or sort of just under $59,000 to the overall levy of the authority. So go through here, slide 1. Still talk about the operating levy, and I mentioned it earlier with the category 1 and the category 3. We do split those out, and as a reminder that the category 1 is the mandatory, category 3 is supported through those MOUs that have been signed or in place until 2028. So the increase, you take the capital out, the actual increase is just about 2.6% for the operations of the authority for 2026. If you look at South Huron's portion, South Huron's portion actually went down as a percentage from last year. This year it's 3.65%. That's less than the overall average for the authority's watershed of 3.93. So I share that. Last year, that increase for South Huron to compare year to year was 4.88%. Okay. And if there's any questions at any time as we go through this, that's okay too.
Any questions at this time? Please proceed.
Thank you. The other piece, so slide 2 now is the special benefiting levy. Yeah, then you got it there. Thank you. On there, really what we want to point out is that through agreements, the cost sharing agreements that the municipality of South Huron has for several flood and erosion control structures that they're involved in. And the difference this year that I want to highlight and point out is that the annual maintenance costs for the flood structures and the erosion control structures actually went down for South Huron. However, because as I previously mentioned, we're looking at a dam safety review, you'll see an additional piece. The third component to that speaks to that amount. And that's an extra $6,152 as proposed. One thing I'm going to mention about whether it's just the special benefiting or overall budget is the Section 39 Ministry of Natural Resources grant is static. And in fact, it has not changed since it was most recently cut back. It was 2018 that it was reduced by 50%. It remains the same. So the effective grant actually goes down from the province every year by a fraction. So slides 3 and 4, these are the roll-ups. This one here is, so there's one that's the total authority, that's combined drinking water source protection and the Asaba Bayfield Conservation Authority. The next one, if you can stay on this one, I think it's probably the best one. The second one is really just when we take drinking water source protection out, what the overall numbers are. This one here, there's a number of examples. I guess I could highlight a few things. I suspect there'll be some questions on this, but I want to point out the category 1 operating levy at the top, the special projects and what those are. Those do vary year to year, but I talked about the dam safety, but we are also going through the development of a hydrology model for a watershed. That model will give us the ability to, our capability, floodplain mapping, but also flood forecasting and warning. Our current flood forecasting and warning software, while very good, is very dated. It's still DOS based. So a decision was made 3 years ago to do this project and spread it out over, it's actually spread it over 3 years, and 2026 will be the last year of that project. I mentioned the capital level. You see the increase there is 100%. It's because we doubled it in year 2. The other ones I'll point out in the top for the revenue, down the second from the bottom in the revenue portion is the deferred from prior year. Those are just multi-year commitments for the programs and projects that we have and the partnerships that we have. And below that, reserves, this proposed for 2026, there's always the IT reserves we use. We have the farmland rent offset, but we're also looking at a fuel tank replacement, the authority's office too. With the expenses, I'll point out the purchase services one because it jumps out a little bit. What those are though, those are the fees that we pay. It could be legal, insurance, contractors, consultants, and a lot of it is actually just labs for water quality sampling for the various programs that we are funding and partnerships for. The other one there that's got the maintenance repair, you'll see it's at 85.9%. It's a significant increase. That number is pretty much propped up by the Rock Glen Hydro project that we have to do this year, or in 2026 that we want to do. And that's, if there are any questions on any of the other items in there, I'm happy to my best answer on it.
Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just noted wages and benefits 6.4%. I guess could you comment on that? You're ahead of budget, or like you're over budget this year on wages. So what's driving that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what that's made off of. Right off that, there's a couple things happened last year. In 2025. One is that the authority joined the OMERS program. So there is a slight increase cost to that. Another one is that the benefits, kind of this year, the benefits alone, and that's the cost to the authority, but there's also an additional cost to the employees, went up by $15,000. So about 1% of our levy right there just on benefits. The other ones, for the most part, of that 6.4%, one factor that's in there is that as we get funding for various projects, we do hire occasionally staff for those projects. That's a piece of it. The other piece of it is that we also have staff movement on the grid. So it's not just what the cost of living or the coal is for the year. There's also movement on the grid as staff gain experience.
Thank you. Any other questions at this time? Please proceed.
Okay. All right. So slides 5. Which one's out there? No, this should be, no, that's, sorry. The next one there. Yeah, revenue expense. So we saw these graphs earlier. Very, very similar. And I think the key message there is just pointing out again that if we're looking at the total revenue for the authority, about 30% comes from whether it's a special levy, the capital levy, the category 1 or category 3. The levied portion is roughly about 1/3. The rest is through other revenue streams. And as I said, the biggest one is that we're able to take $1 leverage locally and bring in an additional $2.50 to $3. The number is usually around $3. I don't want to say for sure it's going to be $3 next year, but 2.5 will likely get to 3. Okay. And then the last one there. What this does here, this just breaks down the levy apportionment for South Huron, and what you can compare previous years, you can compare what the increase is. As I mentioned, the overall authority budget proposed levy increase is 3.93%. The proposed for South Huron is actually 3.65. So it's a little bit lower. And just a reminder where those numbers come from. It's through the cost, the value assessment. So that number is provided to us by the province. And so we get that. We don't determine that. So we take the overall levy, proposed levy, and we multiply it by that factor that we're given to by the province. That number for South Huron within our watershed is 18.735%. So just under 19%. And if we go back to that map in my previous presentation, you can see where exactly South Huron sits within the watershed. Most of South Huron is in the Asable Bay field. The other point I'll just mention here real quick too is that if we kind of break this down to levy per capita, it's about $28 per capita for the residents of South Huron. And the next slides are really the category 3, the MOUs that we have in place right now until 2028. nothing's changed. We've been utilizing these for the last several years now, and we'll continue for another 2.5 years or so. And that's the budget as proposed. I'm happy to take any questions on any piece that we've talked about.
Great. Again, thanks very much, Davin. Any questions for Davin at this time? Councillor Need, go ahead.
Just more of a comment, and so thank you very much for the presentation, and I'm especially happy that we're able to continue with a lot of those Category 3 programs. They do have a significant impact on the community. I just know at the school that I teach at in Clinton that we've had representatives from the ABCA come in and talk about local issues in the watershed with students, and so it's really nice to have access to an expert to work with students in the system. I also think it's incredibly valuable. We take for granted some of the trails and conservation areas that we have in the municipality. Even just last year, there was a report talking about the tourism impact on the Morrison McNaughton Trail, and how there was around 90,000 visits to that authority. So I think it's incredibly valuable that we have in our backyard the ABCA, because of the impact beyond flood control and watershed and source water protection, which is still incredibly valuable. And I hope that it can continue to stay local, and that we can continue to have local representation to represent our constituents. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Could have said it better myself, Mr.
Yeah.
Well done. Any other comments? Not seeing any. Thank you very much, Davin. Great presentation. And
Yeah.
appreciate all
Thank you.
all you do for the municipality. Ms. Masood Carlson, recommendation, please.
That South Huron Council receives a Sable Bayfield Conservation Authority draft 2026 budget as presented by Davin Heinbuck.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Oak, second by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? All the question, all in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. We right up to 6.1 and invite our friends Jim and Nancy Morlock. Come on down. Good to see you. Yeah. And just take your time. You're amongst friends. Yep, you can sit in either one of the chairs there.
Start my presentation. Mayor Finch. Thank you, Mayor Finch, and good evening. Nancy and I would like to thank South Huron Council and South Huron staff for the opportunity to speak to our severance application at 70610 Babylon Line. Nancy and I have worked on our farm for over 40 years, and in 2017 we moved to a smaller property about 10 minutes away. As happens with people our age, we are now starting to consider estate planning. We've had discussions with our son and daughter, and very much like us, they would like to keep the farm in the family. They are the 5th generation of Morlocks to live on that farm. It's important to us. With this in mind, and in planning for the future, we would like to sever the house and the buildings and 1.95 hectares off the farm into our personal names, Jim and Nancy Morlock. The remainder of the farm would stay in J&N Morlock Limited, our company. It's very short, Mr. Mayor Finch, and I would like to thank council for consideration of our application. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Very well done, Jim, and well done.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any questions for the Morlocks at all? So 5th generation, what is that, a Century Farm by chance, or did?
Well, I guess it would be, yeah. It would be a Century Farm, and there was actually another generation next door before that.
And so what year would that farm, just curiosity, would that have been settled by the Morlock family?
You know, genealogy, is that the right, is not my forte. I wish it was, but it isn't. And My dad was born in the kitchen in 1920, so he pointed that out on his 80th birthday when we were back there one day. So, and you go back from there because he was already living there with his father, and his grandfather was before that, and then my great grandfather was next to that. Great great grandfather was next to that. So we've been around for a while.
Yeah, I know you have been for sure. And then you have a great reputation in the community too. So we
you.
respect that right off the bat.
Appreciate that.
Are there any questions for the Moloch? So Jim, do you have something?
No, just a comment. I don't see any problems with this. I mean, we talk about, well, here's heritage. What do you call this? 5 generations. I think this is important that we, maybe, I know it's not with the planning department, but I think we need to start looking at this as, individual properties. And, so I want to thank them for coming in. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, not seeing any. Appreciate your time, folks. That's all for right now.
Is it?
More to discuss as it goes through the process for sure. You did a great job, Jim. We thank you very much for it.
Thank you. Do we stay or do we go or?
You can stay or go. It's a free country still. And
Okay.
yeah, if you find this riveting, feel free to stay and you just go back to the gallery. Yeah. And just turn the mic off. Thanks very much. Well done. You bet. Thank you, Nancy. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Ms. Masook Olson.
That South Huron Council receives a delegation regarding consent application C-53 2025 as presented by Jim and Nancy Morlock.
And a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you. Public meeting, there isn't one. Minutes 8.1, please.
That South Huron Council adopts the minutes of the regular council meeting of November 3rd, 2025 as printed and circulated.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. 9, please.
That the draft budget and meeting notes of the following committees and or boards be received as presented to council. The Upper Thames River Conservation Authority 2026 draft budget and Mayor's Task Force on Regional Healthcare draft meeting notes of October 28th, 2025 and verbal update.
So we'll ask for a mover and a seconder and get it on the floor. Councillor Neeb moves, seconded by Councillor Oak. And go ahead, Councillor Oak.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The Mayor's Task Force would like to give a verbal update, if we could, just of where we are today. Mayor, members, council, Councillor McLeod Haggett and Councillor Vaughn and I will each give a bit of a brief update as to where the Mayor's Task Force on Regional Healthcare has been up to for the last few months. As you know, the task force was set up last spring to provide a forum for information, guidance, oversight, and reporting to the community and to council during the Huron Health System Master Plan process. Recently, we learned that the master plan process has been put on hold as Huron Health System waits for approval of budget dollars to move forward with the project. At this time, there's no timeline on when this may occur, so no further community sessions will be planned until the process begins again. Wendy and Marissa will now provide an update to council on some of the research we have been doing as a task force as part of the process.
Councillor Vaughn, did you want to go first?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. So as Councillor Oak presented in his outline, we were struck with providing ongoing discussion or ongoing forum for consultation, feedback, ideas, recommendations. As we started thinking about how we might approach this, we decided that to fully meet the challenge in our terms of references, the task force believed we should meet with and or tour facilities within our regional healthcare partners for 3 reasons. The first one, to share our own purposes and objectives as per our regional healthcare term of reference. Secondly, to educate ourselves as to the strategies, the objectives, and the processes of those health partners. And 3, to establish effective two-way communication at the outset of the master planning process. So in August, the task force toured Alexander Marine General Hospital up in Goderich and South Huron's hospital here in Exeter. The task force on both occasions was hosted by CEO Jimmy True and some Huron Health Services board members. Each tour also included a presentation that provided us with some additional information about the Huron health system itself. So at those 2 tours, the highlights were basically a statement that Huron Health System comprises these two hospitals, Alexander Marine General Hospital and South Huron's Hospital in Exeter. Combined revenues for the 2 is just under $54 million. The approximate employees are 500 staff, including 35 physicians and specialists, and more than 200 volunteers. Annually, these hospitals handle about 30,000 emergency department visits and support over 19,000 patient days. Operational priorities for fiscal 25 and 26 are focusing on recruitment, retention, and standardization of services. Both hospitals provide a range of medical service to meet community health needs. In fact, they have very similar service offerings. Since our meetings, we have confirmed with Jimmy True that the Huron Health System has applied to the province with an application to host a CT scanner for deployment at the South Huron Hospital. In September, we toured the Grand Bend Area Community Health Center and attended a presentation with CEO Ralph Ganter and Primary Care Coordinator Paige Baldason. This health center has locations in Grand Bend and in Hansel. They are both primary healthcare hubs serving rural, seasonal, and tourist populations in Lambton Shores, South Huron, and the surrounding regional area. Highlights from that session was basically a large discussion on community health center model, which tries to integrate primary health care with health promotion, disease prevention, and with physical and social supports. So what they mean by that is primary care services include physicians and nurse practitioners delivering full scope primary care, walk-in same-day urgent care clinic at the Grand Bend location, nurse-led clinics for immunizations, preventative health, chronic disease follow-up, wrap-up support provided by dietitians, mental health clinicians, pharmacists, physiotherapists, and social workers. So there are programs for diabetes, COPD, health disease, and hypertension. Also, education sessions from time to time in self-management workshops. For years, they've been doing work on cessation of smoking, for an example. Mental health and addiction services for anxiety, depression, grief, stress, and substance use. So the community health center model aims to deliver more healthcare per dollar by addressing both medical and social needs through proactive and preventative care, with a view to preventing unnecessary emergency room visits at our hospitals. Also in September, the task force met with Joelle Lewis of the Ontario Health Team to find out more about its role within our region. So what we learned from the Ontario Health Team is that they are 6 years old and that they have 60 partners around their table. It's also one of the biggest teams in Ontario. They have partnerships with family health teams, with hospitals, long-term care homes, mental health and addictions, primary care, and home care, among others. Their purpose is to use an integrated healthcare model to provide better coordinated care to patients by connecting various providers. Their aim is to improve patient experience and streamline delivery of services by facilitating transactions between different care providers. It was noted that it has a role as well to provide for local decision-making for care of people in the region. The long-term plan of Ontario's health ministry is that all money from that ministry, will eventually flow through the Ontario health teams. The task force was advised that Ontario health teams are involved in regional clinical master planning, which also happens to be part of the Huron Health System master planning requirements. So there's a lot of interconnection. In late October, we met with Krista McCann of South Huron's Hospital Foundation. So many of you know all about the foundation, but a couple of highlights there is foundation has decided to pause moving forward on the medical clinic to give Huron Health Systems time to complete their plans. They intend to announce this decision to their donors shortly through a distribution of their newsletter. The foundation has confirmed its commitment of $5 million to the CT scanner project. The health ministry is required to approve the scanner placement. However, the costs associated for the equipment and the necessary construction are self-funded through the foundation's commitment. The foundation also has supported about $800,000 on various projects, including a pharmacy fixes machine, patient beds, and other equipment upgrades. The task force members wanted to restate that our municipality is extremely fortunate and grateful for all of the support our hospital foundation continues to provide, and for all of the extremely generous donators which provide funding to South Huron's hospital for the benefit of people within our region. And take it away, Wendy.
Councillor McLeod-Haggett.
Through you, Mayor Finch. Thank you, Marissa. So we may not be meeting again until we have more clarity on the master plan. All of the steps highlighted by Councillor Vaughn asked us to advocate on their behalf, and these are the priorities that they have asked us to bring forward. So the Huron healthcare system is master plan funding, and the South Huron Hospital is the CT scanner, as that is something that they are desperately needing over there. The Grand Bend Area Community Health Center, their key messages were just to thank the ministry for the 2% recruitment and retention funding. But there is a pay gap between the primary care and hospitals, is still creating a retention challenge. The center will need major renovations and expansion, so access to federal healthcare construction funding is important. And the rising utility costs are causing a strain on them. So they are looking at possibly doing the solar installation support or energy infrastructure program, which would help reduce the long-term expenses. Councillor Oak and I will be attending Roma, and if we are successful in securing a delegation with the Ministry of Health, we'll make sure these points are raised. So for our next steps, we are on pause until the master plan process starts, and we'll continue to monitor developments and report back to council as progress is made.
Great. Thank you very
And
much.
just
Councillor Oak.
to wrap up, we have discovered that at every tour and meeting, we've had discussions on challenges for our region. Sustainable funding, increases in population and demographics, equitable access, modernization, recruitment and retention of all types of healthcare workers are among the many topics that were common. Healthcare planning is complex and with many interconnected and constantly changing factors. This continues to make the planning and decision-making challenging for us all. The task force will continue to monitor developments and keep council informed as soon as the master plan process resumes. Respectfully submitted. Thank you.
Great, and thank you very much to our task force for doing this. This is great. I'm always in conversation with our neighboring mayors, of course, as we said many times, region is what the province wants to hear. So the other four mayors are very much in favor of working towards with us at a delegation at Roma. So we're hoping we will get that delegation. When will we know? Do you know, Ms. Coulson, when that might happen?
Usually I'm going to say it's probably going to be beginning of January. They're kind of late, and tomorrow's a submission deadline.
So yeah, so we appreciate everything you're doing, and we as the Tri-County Regional Healthcare Alliance that we've formed will look forward to meeting with them. I know Mr. Liardi that we met with in August at the AMO conference was quite impressed, as you know, with the delegation, and he commented how we're working as a region, which is what they want to see. So thank you again to the Mayor's Task Force members for doing what you've done. It certainly gives a good insight of what's happening in our healthcare in our county for sure. Any other questions at this time? No? Great. We have a mover and a second. I'll call question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. And the next item.
That South Huron Council receives the Wind Turbine Special Purpose Committee draft minutes of November 6, 2025, and approves the committee's recommendation that the terms of reference be amended to clarify that the amenity fee fund will be used for projects and initiatives.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor McLeod-Haggett, second by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Councillor Neeb, go ahead.
Just more of a question on just the implication of the change to the terms of reference. What was it that the wind turbine amenity fund could be used for before versus now? Like what does this change now exclude or include?
Ms. Collins, do you want to take that?
Through the mayor, the wording was over and above regular operating and capital expenditures. So that piece was removed.
Councillor Oak.
So part of the idea was to remove the word capital to include so that it was for projects and initiatives, not just capital. So it could be capital, it could be some other initiatives. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you very much. Next item, 10.2, I believe, 10.1.2.
That South Huron Council receives planner report dated November 6, 2025, consent application file C-53-2025, Morlock, and that South Huron Council recommend to the County of Huron application C-53-2025 be denied, since it does not meet the criteria for a severance as set out in the November 6, 2025 planner's report.
Okay. Everybody understand the motion that's before us? Do I have a mover? If there's no mover, therefore no seconder, that fails. Ms. Masuo-Carlson, process please, if we want to approve it.
Yes, then the recommendation could be amended and changed. The clerk can probably help us out with that. It might be helpful for our planner to maybe provide the conditions should council decide to proceed. Then, thanks, Victor.
Thank you. And Mr. Close, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. I provided these in writing. I won't read them all in their whole because it's about 500 words. So I won't keep you all listening to me going through them in detail. A number of these would be the standard conditions on a severance. So there's the expiry period, the municipal requirements, financial or otherwise, cash in lieu of parkland, the requirement for a survey or reference plan, the standard condition regarding if there are any zoning issues in that survey, that those be addressed. There's also a specific zoning recommendation because this wouldn't be a surplus severance. This is a residential lot creation. I do have suggested wording in the recommended conditions that would require the applicants to make an application to rezone the residential parcel and the retained parcel as if this was a surplus severance because it won't automatically happen. There's the Section 65 of the Drainage Act requirement regarding reapportionment, the requirement for an on sewage system inspection, confirmation that there are no potable water connections, cross connections on the subject property. The property owner being required to verify whether there are any private wells on the severed parcel and that they be decommissioned and that the well decommissioning record be provided to the municipality. And verification that there are no field tiles crossing the proposed property lines, or if there are field tiles, that one of the following would be required. Either that they be cut and rerouted, a mutual drain agreement be entered into, or an easement is registered on title. And the applicants have already indicated that they would prefer to go the easement route and that there is a tile that crosses. And then there'd be a note that if there needs to be a new entrance for the retained parcel, that there would need to be a municipal entrance permit.
Thank you. And I'll turn to our clerk to prepare something in favor of this recommendation.
So through the chair, I've got that South Huron Council receives plan report dated November 6, 2025, consent application file C53 2025 Morlock, and that South Huron Council recommend to the County of Huron application C53 2025 be approved, subject to the proposed conditions as outlined by the planner at the November 17th, 2025 regular council meeting.
Thank you. Is there a mover for that? Deputy Mayor moves. Is there a seconder? Councillor Oak seconds. Is there discussion? Not seeing it, call the question. All in favor, and that carries with 7. Thank you. Very good. Next item, please, 10.1.3.
That South Huron Council receives planner report dated November 7th, 2025, part lot control exemption application, SHU PLC 01 2025, Trident Group.
And is there a mover? Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Oak. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor, and that carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, please.
That South Huron Council receives planner report dated November 6, 2025, Bill 60, Fighting Delays, Building Faster Act, 2025, proposed planning changes.
A mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Councillor Oak.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a comment. I wanted to thank Victor and Denise for putting that together. It was very useful information. Thank you.
Any other comments at this time? Not seeing any. Councillor Neeb, go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. When it comes to these changes, like there's a comment in here about variations to minor variances. Would that mean that our terms of reference for the Committee of Adjustment would need to be adapted or changed, or?
Victor, do you want to take that?
Yes, through you. I don't believe so. A lot of these changes, we don't know the full details. The ERO postings don't outline exactly how this would all work. What I expect from what we have seen is that it would be an automatic, essentially legal variation from any bylaw that's in effect. So someone wouldn't have to apply for a minor variance. They'd just have a reduced setback kind of automatically.
Great. Any other questions, Councillor Oak?
Just one comment. I think this is being presented to County Council this week as well. Is there going to be a request to County to send something on with this?
Yes, and through the chair, I believe that, yes, Denise and Sandra will be asking County Council to provide some comments. They'll be fairly limited, but some of the areas where we've noted that maybe this doesn't have a rural lens on it, or where we don't see necessarily great benefit to, the idea of a province-wide electronic portal for all planning applications, when we already have cloud permit working locally. Those are the sorts of things that we'd like direction to provide comment on.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Close. Any other questions? Great. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor, and that carries with 7. Thank you. 10.1.5, please.
That South Huron Council receives staff report BPS 15-2025, Thames Road West Force Main Design, costing and update. And that South Huron Council approves an amendment to the budget to add a capital budget for the Thames Road West Force Main project in the amount of $243,200 and that South Huron Council authorizes a 243,200 to be funded by the sewer capital replacement reserves, and that staff prepare a cost recovery bylaw and a mandatory connection bylaw for the repayment of the force main for council consideration.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor Neeb, seconded by Counselor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question. Oh, Counselor Oak, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just a quick question. So this, has Goderich Exeter Railway, agreed to allowing this to go across on their property, or have we heard from them?
Mr. Rolfe?
Through the chair. The engineer BM Ross, that was retained to do the design and costing, has been in contact with GEXR. Do we have approval of this as of right now? No, however, we are working through the process.
Thank you. Any other questions? Counselor Vaughn?
Thank you. Yes, so there was a comment in the staff report that there have been some letters of support received. And there are 2 letters that happen to be in our correspondence. Were those the letters that were received in support?
Through the mayor, that's correct.
Okay. Yes, so I have another question, which basically relates to the cost recovery bylaw and sort of matches the support. One of those letters basically said in principle that they supported, but were waiting on cost. And so I know that the report said that the costs were going to be similar to other sewer capital replacement reserves. But the question is, will this sewer pipe actually be able to facilitate any more than just the 8 properties that are involved in it today?
Mr. Rolfe?
Through the chair. So the force main is currently designed to service those 8 properties. So when you ask more properties, do you think in properties to the west or just more development on the existing properties?
What I'm thinking about is, from my recollection, a lot of the cost recovery bylaws have basically been worded along the lines of the benefiting properties pay for like 80% of the works, and the other 20% is from future benefiting properties or other properties that come online. And so because we didn't actually get any real detail in this staff report, I'm just wondering how that might work out to be similar to previous when we're only talking 8 properties.
Understood. And through the mayor, we have not gone through obviously the cost recovery bylaw as of yet, but however, it is anticipated that those 8 properties would pay for the full cost of the force main. Divided up equally, and we don't know how that's be, whether it's flow proportional, whether it's frontage, whether it's per property. That has not been decided yet.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Any other questions? Not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. 10.2, 10.3, 10.4.1, please.
That South Huron Council receives staff report FIN 22-2025, 2025 third quarter operating budget variance report for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Counselor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you. 10.4.2.
That South Huron Council receive staff report CL 19-2025, 2026 council and committee meeting and holiday schedule, and that the 2026 council meeting and holiday schedule be approved as presented.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor Neeb, second by Counselor Dietrich. Any discussion? Counselor Oak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. I know back in the fall, there was a situation where there was too many spots for public meetings and committee of adjustments and because and the wording was or instead of and or. I guess the question is, why wouldn't we put and or for all of these meetings as opposed to just the 1 month or 2 months where there's a single meeting? And just wondering for flexibility, because it did delay a application coming because of that wording, I guess, is the way I understood from the applicant I was talking to.
Madam Clerk?
So through the chair, so the proposed schedule in front of council is based on past practice. We did indicate within the report that there is a public meeting section within the regular council meeting agenda aspect, if that was determined to be required. There's also internal aspects for having agendas, information out, and then the applications received and notices published in advance. At this point in time, this is a proposed calendar. However, council could make changes if they so choose.
Thank you.
Through the mayor, part of the reason that it was in practice that in the past was determining how many can happen before a council meeting, just because the time of the meeting is generally 5 o'clock. And so, and that can change depending on the application. So that was part of the reason in the past.
Councillor.
And I have no problem with that. I guess I just don't like the fact that we delay for 2 weeks or so an actual application for somebody that wants to build something or, you know, invest in South Huron sort of thing, just because of some wording on our proposed meeting schedule. So that was my only comment. So thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? Councillor Neeb.
And for the schedule, the times would all be relatively the same, like committee of adjustment 5 o'clock, regular meeting 6 o'clock. Okay.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. 10.4.3, please.
That South Huron Council received staff report CAO 14/2025, potential gaming site host. And that Council of the Municipality of South Huron reaffirms its support for a casino gaming facility within the former Stephen Township, Grand Bend. And the small footprint gaming development within the community could include, but is not limited to, a wide variety of entertainment options, primarily limited table and primarily slot-based operation and hotel. And that staff be authorized to proceed with discussions with the appropriate governing bodies, and that council endorses the location of the proposed gaming site to be situated at 70589 Blue Water Highway.
And a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I wonder, Rebecca, could you give us a bit of a background, because the resolution talked about a reaffirming. Just wondering if you could just jog my memory of that reaffirmation.
Through the mayor, in 2019, there was a couple of staff reports from the CAO. And at that time, the area was that was considered was in close to Huron Country Playhouse as well as Dark Horse Winery. So the first resolution in the report in 2019 had council actually supporting a casino gaming facility within the former Stephen Township, Grand Bend. So that has already been approved. And then there was a second report, and that endorsed the location at the Dark Horse Winery and Huron Country Playhouse.
Thank you. Any other questions? Deputy, you have something? Go ahead.
Thank you. It's probably not the right time, but I guess I get a little bit concerned about the area and if it's large enough for, you know, to accommodate the parking and that type stuff. So I realize it's probably not the time, but.
Yeah, that'll all be part of site plan approval and through our planning and whatnot. I don't imagine our planners are going to bring anything back that's not going to be suitable. So if you have a concern, certainly you can talk about it at that time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions at this time? Councillor Vaughn.
Yes, I'm just wondering what's actually driving this. Is it the gaming authority that has decided that they're going to open up for more expressions of interest, or is this a developer who has come to us who just happens to have this own this property and has thought maybe that would be a good use.
Through the mayor, the second, yes, it is a developer that has approached the municipality, and this is one of the first steps in that process, just to gauge whether or not there's interest in the community. And part of that, prior to even making the application, there is community consultation required, as well as the council approval. So this is just the beginning steps.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so recognize beginning step. There has to be more discussion and so on. And there were a number of sort of public inputs that were required in the whole process. The very last piece here in this resolution is that council endorses the location of the proposed gaming site to be situated, and then it gives the address. Without any public consultation, I don't see how we can make such an endorsement.
Through the mayor, that is up to council. I do know that the previous resolution, that there was no further consultation. So this was proposed this way as well. Should council decide that you want to split the motion or defer the motion, that is at council's discretion. I would note that the developer did note that they would be happy to come to council if you had any questions for them.
I think the location identifies it, so there's no ambiguous, it's not ambiguous as to where it's being proposed. I think that would be maybe why it's there. Councillor Oak?
Thank you, Mayor. Just the previous resolution that we had on the books, did it have the address at the time of the location? I know we talked about, but we didn't, I'm not sure if there was an actual legal address or not.
Through the mayor, there was no specific legal address, no.
It just said Stephen Township.
Stephen Township.
Grand Bend / Grand Bend or whatever.
But it did have at the winery and Huron Country Playhouse within the resolution. Those that named those two.
Any other questions? Councillor Deep?
Thank you through the chair, and I apologize to staff if you don't know the answer to this, but what would a public consultation process look like after this on part of the applicant? Because I'm assuming they have to submit some application to the AGCO. Yeah.
That is correct, and that all is dependent as well with council input as well. So some of the ways that have been described are open houses, town halls, website, just different types of reaching out to the community. Yes.
Councillor Oak?
Thank you. I guess I'm just wondering, is there a timing aspect here, or, you know, is there a possibility to have the applicant come with making a delegation to us so that we could ask some questions or get some more information? Is that a possibility? I guess I just didn't know if there was a timing crunch for some application they were making, a window that was being opened or something.
Through the mayor, we have not been advised of any timeline crunch.
Councillor Vaughn?
Thank you. Yes, back in February of this year, we just approved an official plan. And that was quite a process, quite long process. There was no mention of anything about a casino, which always has a lot of public opinion, no matter how you want to look at it. But one of the things that we did say in our official plan is that we were committed to working with Lambton Shores on our plans. And they, at the time of the whole official plan, were basically saying that they wanted purposes to be complementary to what their community needed. And I'm wanting to know if we have talked with Lambton Shores about this idea at all.
Through the mayor, I have talked to the CAO of Lambton Shores and they were tentatively supportive, like they weren't opposed to this proposal.
And again, this recommendation gets us started. It's not finalized by any stretch. There's a huge number of steps that have to be taken before we can go any further, but it is very transparent. And then within the report, it talks about 70589 Blue Water Highway. And I believe that's why it's in the recommendation. Are there any other questions at this time? Deputy, you had something? No, sorry. Councillor Vaughn, you had something else?
Yes, I did have one other thing. I do understand that there has to be discussion with the gaming authority to find out what can and cannot be done. Most of this motion, right up to the last paragraph, I am okay with that to get the ball rolling. But I would not support this motion if the very last paragraph were included in there. So I am suggesting that we split the motion.
Okay. Any other comments at this time? Okay, Councillor Oak.
Just a question, and I don't know, for the application, do they actually have to list an address for their application? Or a geography, I guess?
Through the mayor, yeah, yes, they do for the application. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. If there's no further questions, we'll split the motion unless you have something, Councillor Vaughn.
Oh, I just wanted to know if we were going to split the motion.
Yeah, we certainly can do that. The mover and the seconder stays the same, but I'll turn to our clerk and as she prepares for that.
Through the chair, just for clarification, are we splitting each item within the recommendation or just having the first four together and then splitting the final section?
First four together, splitting off the last one.
That South Huron Council received staff report CAO 14/2025 potential gaming site host, and that Council of the Municipality of South Huron reaffirms its support for a casino gaming facility within the former Stephen Township Grand Bend, and the small footprint gaming development within the community could include, but is not limited to, a wide variety of entertainment options, primarily limited table and primarily slot-based operation and hotel, and that staff be authorized to proceed with discussions with the appropriate governing bodies. Moved by Deputy Mayor Dietrich, seconded by Councillor Oak.
Okay, is there any further discussion on that part of the recommendation? Councillor Oak and then Councillor Neeb.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I just, there was some examples given of some of the other casinos relatively with this organization, I guess. And this one just seems so small. I don't know. I guess they'll probably be building up because of the footprint there. I guess any comment as far as the size of it from staff at all? It just like some of the other ones are, you know, seem to be double the size. And I just don't know if that footprint is big enough for, you know, something that's realistic, I guess. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Again, this is just the starting of it. Like nothing's confirmed. We have no plans, nothing like that. This is the very first step, but I'll turn to staff.
Well, the report did say 6,000 to 12,000 square feet, which is about half of what some of the other ones are as far as square footage. So we do have some details of what they're thinking. So I'm just wondering if that's something that we feel that should be on that site, if that's the best use of that site, I guess.
And through the mayor, in talking preliminary discussions anyway, with the developer, they are aware of the building envelope of that. And it is their proposal to, staff have talked about other locations. And this is the location that they felt that they could work with.
Councillor Neeb, you had something, sorry.
Yeah, just more of a comment going back to that public consultation piece too. I don't know if it's necessary to put that within the motion. I don't want to make it seem like we're, you know, slamming the door. I think we should be going through some sort of process and making sure that the public is made aware of what the developer is interested in doing and allow that conversation to go. So I'm just wondering if that should be added into the resolution that we invite them to come to a council meeting or whether that's necessary. I don't know.
It again is still the infancy stage. Mr. Rolfe, would you have something, or Mr. Sue Carlson, or anyone?
Through the mayor, I, not within this particular resolution. What could happen if council considers it is possibly defer the next one and put the wording in defer until after a meeting is set up with the developer to obtain further information, or defer that decision. Yeah, that's how I would probably suggest that. I don't know that it would fit within this particular resolution.
Okay, thank you. If there's no further questions, then you've all heard the recommendation. I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Now turn to Madam Clerk.
That council endorses the location of the proposed gaming site to be situated at 70589 Blue Water Highway, and that's moved by Deputy Mayor Dietrich, second by Councillor Oak.
Thank you. Any further discussion on that? Councillor Oak?
Just wondering, in light of what Rebecca said, maybe we could look at deferring this to until such time as they come and provide a delegation, providing some more information, some details. I don't know. I'm just asking.
Is anyone wish to second the deferral? Okay, not seeing any. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you. With 6. Okay, next item, please. Notice of motion. Are there any notices at this time?
There are none.
Thank you. Items for discussion, 12.1. Anyone wish to pull those for discussion? Okay, not seeing any. New business? Not seeing any. Mayor and councillor comments and announcements. Anyone wish to speak to anything? Deputy, go ahead.
Thank you. Just to the Santa Claus parade. What a night. Unbelievable. The number of floats that were there, the number of people, and the weatherman took care of us too. It was a little bit milder this year. So I want to thank the community of South Huron for coming out and showing up and doing such a great job of putting the entrance in the parade. So thank you.
Great. Councillor Deep.
I had a chance to sit in the sidelines with a 5-year-old, and he was very excited for 45 minutes of just nonstop people going by and candy. I think this has been one of the largest Santa Claus parades that the community has had. So thank you to staff and the BIA, and also all the people who took the time to put floats together, and what was the tree service, George? The Defender Tree Service. If anyone had a chance to watch the parade, it's pretty incredible with the boom truck that they had him. And I wondered at one point, why is he lowering this gigantic Christmas tree? It was so large they had to go underneath the hydro line. So it was very impressive. So yeah, thanks.
Great. Any other comments? Councillor Oak.
Thank you, Mayor. And yes, I echo those comments as well for the parade. I also want to thank the BIA and the Chamber for a great business gala. It was a feel-good night celebrating all the local businesses in South Huron. So thank them for a very successful event as well.
Thank you. Councillor McLeod-Haggett.
Yes, through you, Mayor Finch. Just speaking further on the gala, just congratulations to all of the recipients, and a big applaud out to Mary Ellen for getting the Lifetime Achievement there. She hands down deserves that, and many more awards for what she has done and given back to not only our community, but our surrounding communities.
Thank you. Any other comments? Not seeing. We'll just go over what the mayor's been up to for the last month. So on November 4th, I was invited and attended the grand opening of the Barburrito restaurant at the north end of town. And on the 5th of November, and with the help of Stacy Jeffrey, our staff, I met with several students from Exeter Elementary School who took part in a presentation by Stacy and myself on the role of local government, and they were here in these chambers. On the 6th of November, I attended the South Huron Awards Gala with, as you mentioned earlier, with other council members. And again, pleasure to see such a successful evening. Congratulations to all the coordinators and the award recipients that made it the success it was. On the 9th of November, I had the privilege of laying a wreath at the cenotaph here in Exeter in support of the Exeter Legion and our veterans, and special thanks to Barb Willard for her leadership in working with others to make that happen. On the 11th of November, I attended the Grand Bend Legion and laid a wreath on behalf of South Huron residents. We must never take for granted what a privilege it is to live in this country and what previous generations did in order for us to live in such a free society. We have a great partnership with our Lambton Shores neighbors, and the residents there commented on the importance of having both municipalities represented. Later that evening, I attended the Exeter Legion dinner and made comments on behalf of our community regarding the success of South Huron and those that did pay the ultimate sacrifice. And on the 13th of November, I was invited to the official opening of the Exeter Cannabis Store located across from the Parkette. The new owners are excited to be here and we're very enthusiastic to be a part of this amazing community. And on the 15th of November, I participated, of course, like we just mentioned, at the Exeter Christmas Parade and was joined by my family members where we wished everyone a very Merry Christmas. And that's what I've been up to. So we'll go to 15. Communications, please.
15.1. 15.2.
Hold.
15.3.
Hold.
15.4. That's point 1 and point 2. 15.5. 15.6. 15.7. 15.8. 15.9. 15.10. 15.11, and that's point 1 and point 2. 15.12. And that's point 1 and point 2.
Okay, 15.2, Councilor McLeod-Hagan, please.
Yeah, thank you. Through Mayor Finch, just wondering, Rebecca, if there's been any conversation with respect to Mr. Boyle's correspondence. I know with housing developments and stuff, the parking piece is always an issue, and with families that do have more than 2 vehicles at times. Just wondering if there's been any conversation within staff of how or what we can do to assist.
Through the mayor, some of this is zoning, as far as, and some of it is as of right zoning as well, for bills. And I don't want to put Victor on the spot, but maybe could you give us kind of a high level on what those restrictions are?
Yes, I think it's safe to say that the recent direction from the province has been pretty clear that they want us moving to more of a minimized or market-driven housing, parking for housing. South Huron does have higher parking requirements than the other municipalities in Huron County at this time, especially for higher density housing types. The province has mandated that you can only require 1 parking space per additional residential unit. And so that's on the lower end of the spectrum. And you've got similar parking ratios for other like low density housing types. It does come down to, in some cases, an issue of you do see these cases sometimes where someone buys a home knowing that there was 1 parking space and then being surprised that there's only 1 parking space. So I definitely recognize that there are issues when we have intensification and new housing development and pressure on the on-street parking. I can't think of any Huron County municipalities that do allow overnight winter parking. I could be wrong on that, but yeah.
Councilor Deep.
Thank you through the chair. And one of the things too, as I was going through the parking bylaw, is that there is the ability for residents to apply for an overnight parking permit. as well. And I think maybe that's something that we could recommend to Mr. Boyle to apply for. I also think too our parking bylaw makes sense given the fact that we do have to clear snow on both the sidewalks and on residential areas, and it makes it unsafe if we're not able to actually get around vehicles and remove the snow on the sidewalk. It provides an accessibility issue as well. So I think the appropriate path may be an application and to go through staff, and that it be handled operationally as opposed to opening up the entire parking bylaw.
Thank you. Ms. Masood Coulson, you have a comment?
Through the mayor, and I can add as well as, I know the clerk is constantly reviewing bylaws, and she can keep the comments on file and for the review to see what we can work with, and maybe there is something we can do. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Your microphone, Councillor Massel. Thank you, Councillor Oak. You had something?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I guess, yeah, the overnight parking exception maybe is the way to go. You know, I think in this case, they've got 2 spots, and then, you know, they might have 3 or 4 vehicles now that their kids have vehicles, right? So all of a sudden it's 4 vehicles in where there's 2 spots, and versus across the road where they can park 4 in and not block a sidewalk. I think that's the, you know, the outline that Darren put in this, I'm not sure that it's manageable, because there's snowplows need to be out at 3 or 3:30 in the morning. We can't start at 6 in the morning before we start plowing, or people won't be getting to work in the morning, sort of thing. And I'm not sure. Yeah, so looking forward to seeing if this parking exception would be a way to go.
Thank you. 15.3, Councillor McLeod Haggard.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Finch. Yes, just through the BIA, the letter regarding the snow clearing at McNaughton Park. I just want to basically just outline too that this park has now been listed as one of the tourist attractions that does generate a lot of visitors. It's getting a lot of social media feeds, so people are tending to come into Exeter to enjoy the light display that is put there. So the BIA is looking for some community accessibility for the holiday season there. So I'm just wondering at staff level what communication's been had, if any, for ensuring the pathway through there is looked after. Obviously, if we have a December snowfall like we did last year, it will be difficult to maintain it at the beginning, but maybe there's opportunity or something that we can work with it to clear that for individuals to enjoy it.
Ms. Masood Coulson.
Through the mayor. I'll start on this one, and I believe our manager Amanda is on as well, and maybe she can add more information operationally. This would be a change of level of service, and the costs for doing this would come out of the contracted services for recreation. Amanda has a better idea of what that would cost at a high level. But the other pieces for council consideration is minimum maintenance standards. Once you start with doing the pathways, then there are obligations as well as liabilities as far as every 2 hours or whatever the checking that's required to do that. And then that in that way that it is an increased level of service. Amanda, did you have some information that you'd like to add as well?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah, through the mayor. So we gathered some preliminary costing. So obviously it's hard to tell exactly how much this would cost because it's weather dependent. But when the services are needed, there's a push price for that area, which would be approximately $73. There's also salting that would be required. It was quoted at approximately $119 per salting. Now the salting typically happens after every plow. They'll also salt before snowfall or freezing. So that's just something to consider too. The potential contractor that we talked to for this had included 2 bins to be on site for salt, with an approximate cost to refill those at $99 per bin throughout the season and as needed. So Rebecca hit home some of the other points to consider. We're also talking to this individual, and just a note, I hadn't actually considered either. Adding salt on those paths through those gardens could hurt the grass or the gardens, depending on how much salt is left at the end of the year. So that might result in more staff time and cost to repair that area. There may also be some long-term effects on the pavers, where we're currently seeing some right now outside Town Hall with prolonged salt exposure. There's cracking and boring. So those are just some other things to consider too, if council chooses to proceed with maintaining this park.
Go ahead.
And through the mayor, Amanda, I believe that you had noted before that signage would be needed because once you start maintaining a pathway, you have to keep maintaining it.
Through the mayor, yes, that is correct. So best practice is to maintain that area start to finish for the season. There would also be suggestions about putting some signage up. If we were not to maintain after certain dates, you'd want to make sure you had adequate signage in the appropriate locations too. So we'd have to get that as well.
And Amanda, I was at an event recently where they talked about highway salt affecting cedar trees and pines. Would you be aware of that at all? Because I was not aware of that. Is that something you could comment on or not?
I can't comment too directly on it, but I do know the contractor did issue some concerns with the amount of salt that might be in that area that is just not used to the salt being there. So what they typically do at the end of the season is they either sweep it up to try and get as much salt out of there as possible because they don't want the damage on the grass or in the garden. So that's one thing that they suggested to consider if we do move forward with this.
Yeah, so there's a consideration for damage to those trees and whatnot that are there now in the springtime. So, okay, thank you. Any other questions at this time, Councillor Neep?
Thank you, Mayor Finch, and through the chair. The sidewalk that's along Main Street that runs beside the park is sanded, salted, and maintained, correct?
That is correct. The municipal portion, yes.
Any other questions, comments at this time, Councillor Vaughn?
Yes, I'm not sure that I heard any mention of what it might actually cost us to maintain this for a whole season. Did you give that figure?
Amanda?
Sorry, so through the mayor, there's no baseline cost. It's a cost per service. So there's a cost for every push that they'll do. So when they remove the snow, there's a cost for that. And there's a cost for every salting. Basically, they would be hand salting it in order to mitigate hopefully some of the damage to the grass of the gardens. So there's about $73 for every push, $119 for every salt. And then to refill the bins would be about $99 per bin as needed throughout the season. So if we get a mild winter, cost could be fairly low. If we get a heavy winter, cost could be quite high. It honestly just depends on the season that we get.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, Councillor Neep.
Just more of a comment too, because from what I remember too, there is a path along McNaughton Drive, as well as there is a sidewalk on Andrew Street. I know that in the past too, with the management of the park, that the Lions have contributed a lot of time and energy to making the scenic gardens what they are, and we've had issues too with the trees along McNaughton Drive. Some of them have died for whatever reason. Could be just the seasonality kind of affecting the trees as well. But I'd just be concerned if we were putting salt on a lot of those paving stones and within the park, because that will seep into those flower beds. And anyways, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think we still have access, and tourists can still have access to see the scenic gardens along Main Street and McNaughton Drive and Andrew Street. And who knows too, if there is mild times, people can still walk through the scenic gardens. So
Thank you. If there's nothing further, Ms. Basu Carlson.
Through the mayor, just to clarify, I just got a note from Amanda, and I believe that the sidewalks have not been maintained in the past. Is that was that your understanding?
Yeah, so through the mayor, that was my understanding. And I can attest to that last year as I walked through there as well. The sidewalks had not been maintained at that point.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, Mr. Sewell Colson, if you could read the recommendation, please.
That South Huron Council receive communication items not otherwise dealt with.
And the mover, please. Deputy Mayor moves, seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Councillor Neeb, go ahead, please.
Thank you through the chair. And I know it's not on the correspondence, but Rebecca sent out a newsletter from the AROS Municipal Public Works. It's a publication, and just wanted to say congratulations to Shane Timmermans. He's listed quite a ways through the publication, but congratulations to him on his certification. And I'm not sure the specific certification that he got, but congratulations to him. And it's great to see that that he's been able to upgrade his skills. And yeah.
Great, thank you for that, Mr. Neeb. Nothing further. We have you read the recommendation? Sorry. Yep, then we've got it moved and seconded by Deputy, I believe, and Councillor Neeb. There's nothing further. Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. There's no closed session, therefore no report from closed session. Bylaws 18.1, please.
That South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 72, 2025, being a bylaw to exempt certain lands from part lot control and registered plan 22M 35, being parts 1 to 11 in plan 22 7538 in the municipality of South Huron and the county of Huron.
Mover, please. Councillor Neeb moves, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. 19.1, please.
That South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 73, 2025, being a bylaw to confirm matters addressed at the November 10th, 2025 budget meeting and the November 17th, 2025 council meeting.
And a mover, please. Councillor Neeb moves, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question. Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. 20, please.
The South Huron Council hereby adjourns at 7:51 p.m. to meet again on December 1st, 2025 at 6 p.m. or at the call of the chair.
Deputy Mayor moves, seconded by Councillor Neeb. No discussion. Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you, everyone, for attending this evening, and thanks to our gallery. Thank you.